Part 2 of session 94. Let's delve into the archetypical mind, specifically the experience of mind. Let's begin. In the previous episode, we only covered material that was personal, and at the end we talked about a question regarding the veil, and we didn't get into the experience of mind, which is card number 4 of the mind cycle and of the whole of the tarot. So today we're going to start doing just that. But before I get into the material that we have, if you're on YouTube, you may notice that I'm wearing my Dream State Logic t-shirt, which I just got from my friend Colby, and this is not a paid promotion of any kind, but you have probably been listening to the background music all these episodes, and that's all him, Dream State Logic. So take a look at his website. Always in the description there are links, and you can check his music, which he has there. And of course, if you want to support him, then you can check the rest of his links, shop, and all that stuff. I really appreciate his art, his music. It's been on the background, like I said, of all my videos actually, or most of them, and especially the Law of One has always been. As you can see, the title of this song is Density of Being, which I kind of like and love live. I like that. So yeah, you'll see that there is a lot of titles of the songs that are relevant to the Law of One. That's because he's a student of the Law of One. So just wanted to mention him. Love his music. I love my new t-shirt, and if you want to get yours, of course, again, it's not a paid promotion. I just do it out of my heart, which is probably the best promotion we can do. You can also check out in the description, always links. So lots of love for Colby. Now, getting into our session, we left at question 10, and we're going to pick up at question 11, of course. Let's go straight into that and begin the conversation on the experience of mind. So this is question 11. Don says, I have drawn a small diagram in which I simply show an arrow which represents catalyst penetrating a line at right angles to the arrow, which is the veil, and then depositing in one of 2 repositories, one which I would call on the right hand path, one on the left hand path. And I have labeled these 2 repositories for the catalytic action as it's filtered through the veil, the experience. Would this be a very rough analogy of the way the catalyst is filtered through the veil to become experience? So a whole diagram that Don has there. We'll talk about this. But first, Ra responds, again, you are partially correct. The deeper biases of a mind-body-spirit complex pilot the catalyst around the many aisles of positivity and negativity as expressed in the archipelago of the deeper mind. However, the analogy is incorrect in that it does not take into account the further polarization, which most certainly is available to the conscious mind after it has perceived the partially polarized catalyst from the deeper mind. If I haven't warned you already, we are cruising on waters that are very complex in vocabulary, so keep that in mind for the rest of this tarot study. So with that in mind, let's just try to smooth out a little bit what we're talking about. In our life experience, we don't have many words to divide experience here, but in our life experience, we experience reality. That's what we experience. And so if we can narrow down all of these functions of the mind into one purpose, one function, is that it is fashioning the experience for the creator. But because we're talking about the specific experience of the mind-body-spirit complex, which is a third density being, then we split down all this into archetypes. And so the experience of the mind refers to that catalyst, which again we said is everything that assaults our senses and then produces an experience. The archetype refers to the processing of catalysts for experience that can further our evolution, because we're not stagnant. We're never stagnant. Everything is in flux, movement. And so experience is that which is inviting us to evolve, to learn, to polarize ourselves. Okay? So just keep that in mind. That's all that's happening. The archetype of experience is denoting the processing of catalyst, which is everything, and how we process that catalyst determines the nature of experience, period. Quick example, somebody cuts you off while you're driving. That's catalyst. Then you process that catalyst and you have experience. And if you get upset and you get angry, then you're processing it in a negative way that can be maybe polarized further, right? And generate negative thoughts and hate and resentment and so on. You play a story in your head. On the other hand, if you are just patient and you just realize that nobody got hurt and the guy is in a hurry, in a rush, and you simply go about your business and say, oh, that's it. Something happened. I hope the guy is fine, or whatever it is that you process in your mind as calm, peaceful. You're not in a rush. You feel compassion for the other person and so on. Then that would be a positive processing. So, very general and simplistic way of giving an example, but that's just what's happening. Okay. So, Don's question is: I'm thinking of a repository, the experience, the archetype of experience as being a repository. I don't like very much that analogy. Ross says is partially correct. I guess it's fine because we are indeed filtering out catalysts to have an experience of positive or negative, and we're working through the veil, of course, because we don't know why the guy cut you off, but how do you fashion that experience, positive or negative? It's up to you. So you are the one that is creating reality. You define it. You are the producer of your own show. So, in essence, there is penetration of the veil, and we deposit our experience into positive or negative due to the catalyst that is given to us. Now, Ra's answer is that the deeper biases of a mind-body-spirit complex pilot the catalyst around the many aisles of positivity and negativity as expressed in the archipelago of the deeper mind. So, the unconscious mind possesses certain biases that it wants to produce, right? It doesn't have an intention. The unconscious mind doesn't have any intention. It's just producing the biases. Karma, basically, is just being produced. It's surfacing. And so, because we are in a position to reshape our minds, then we can look at the catalyst that is coming up from the unconscious mind, and it does have a certain tendency, right? And it's produced in a certain way. So tendency is not an intention. See, intention is already a a decided action. In the tendency is just simply, what's the condition, the conditioning of the thought, of the story. So once it goes into one direction, you can process it and polarize it further, or you can change it. So the deeper biases that we have are guiding the catalyst, in essence, are what's recycling the catalyst. So catalyst will repeat over and over until we have polarized that catalyst in one direction or the other, because catalyst is neutral. So they say that the analogy is incorrect. So I guess this part is fine in the analogy. You see, I don't see it as a repository, but as a dynamic system of how we are presented with constant catalyst. And that catalyst is certainly the same, but we process it differently because we have polarized more and more, or we haven't processed it at all, and so we repeat the catalyst over and over. And so we wonder why we're still, running on a treadmill. So, positive, negative, I guess, I think there's very little mention, and there should be some mention, onto stagnation, or what Ra calls the sinkhole of indifference, in which people are indifferent to process further the positive or negative catalyst. And so, in any case, the incorrectness of the analogy is that it doesn't take into account the further polarization which is available to the conscious mind once it has perceived the partially polarized catalyst from the deeper mind. So like I said, the unconscious mind is producing this tendency in the catalyst to be processed in a way, to be seen in a particular way. And so the active being is the one that needs to say, wait a minute, this is something that I don't agree with anymore, and I wish to change it. See? And now you have made a switch from negative catalyst, or if the entity is negative, I can imagine or suppose that they would say, oh yes, this actually encourages my identity. It produces a higher sense of identity into whatever it is, the direction that they have in manipulation and control. So yes, it'll go in that direction. I can't speak much on that path for obvious reasons. I lack experience. But on the positive path, we can see this as when we, for example, when we meditate, right? Meditation allows for the surfacing and analysis of what's happening in the mind. Now we're presented with those things that are surfacing, and we're saying, this happens all the time. We see something that comes out from the past, let's say. It's not coming from the past, it's coming from the present. You contain all of this right now, but you're just becoming aware of it. So you see, things are not coming from the past, they're coming from the inside, but you're just not aware of it. So penetrate the veil, look at the catalyst that shows up, and you say, oh, there we go. That's something that I could consider in a different way. And you see, now you say, oh, I've gained an insight, which is very appropriate because you gain a sight of the inside. And so now you can reshape catalyst in whichever way you want. You have the tools of discernment yourself, so it's up to you. But in a positive way, of course, then you're looking at things from unity, from peace, from love, and so on. So that is the further polarization that is available when the conscious mind perceives that partially polarized catalyst from the deeper mind. I can reiterate this in so many ways because this is the experience of the meditator, the one that is always looking. And let me give you an example of how it actually looks on the positive, partially positive polarized catalyst, right? That's a lot of words. Partially polarize. What did I say? In any case, thoughts that are positive. Partially polarize catalyst. This can be anything ranging from the things you like to do or the things you want to express and so on. The manifestation of your delightful being. Yes, that one which is enlightened by itself. You perceive it partially polarized, and you can feel the certainty, the truth in it, and you say, yes, more of this, please. This is awesome. So you see, if you forgive my mundane language to express it, but that's the way it is. You just say, yes, I love this. It feels incredible. And so now you're paying more attention to that positively polarized part of your mind. That's what I said. Partially positively polarized catalyst. So that's how you, what do they say? The further polarization. You can intensify this feeling. But okay, a quarter of the whole episode is gone with this first question. Let's move on. Don says in question 12, it seems to me that the experience of the mind would act in such a way as to change the nature of the veil so that catalyst would be filtered so as to be more acceptable in the bias that is increasingly chosen by the entity. For instance, if the entity had chosen the right-hand path, the experience of the mind would change the permeability of the veil to accept more and more positive catalyst. And also the other would be true for accepting more negative if the left-hand path were the one that was repeatedly chosen. Is this correct? I actually like this. Ross says, this is not only correct, but there is a further ramification. As the entity increases in experience, it shall more and more choose positive interpretations of catalyst if it is upon the service to others path, and negative interpretations of catalyst if its experience has been along the service to self path. So yes, please bring awareness into this. I'm not saying you, the listener, but let's bring awareness into the interpretation of the mechanics or dynamics of what's happening here. Again, I feel a little bit apologetic for the language that is being used here, but this is what we signed up for when we started studying this part of the material, and I'll make no more apologies. So, penetrating the veil allows for the conscious mind to perceive that which is hidden to itself. In other words, working with the unconscious mind. As you do this, then catalyst will rise up more and more. Karma will present itself to be smoothed out or to be intensified or polarized in one direction or the other, which is positive or negative. And so when this happens, there is I'm not sure if I like the fact that the veil becomes more permeable. I think it's that we become more aware of the veil, which has a set permeability, I would think. I may be wrong in this, but I think the veil has a set permeability. It's just that to us, when we don't see it, it's like looking at a screen from a distance, or maybe from close. It just looks like it's a wall. It's not a wall. It's permeable. It has holes in it. And so the closer you see it, I guess you can see better the holes. It's a very thick screen. Yes, it's true, but the permeability is there. However, the more you work through the veil, then you get more used to the dynamics of, in and out, conscious to unconscious, and so on. And so that allows for more of the positive to see, because you're looking at more positive things through the veil. And if you're looking through the negative, then you see more negative things. This makes sense. And so this is all correct. I won't elaborate much on this, because it is simply, the more you look through the veil on the positive side, you'll see more positive catalysts coming your way. And the opposite is also true for the negative ones. And the further ramification that Ra expresses is actually quite simple. It's just that awareness itself, which is really who you are, will be more interested in service to others' path or positive catalysts, interpretations of catalyst. Because catalyst, again, is neutral, interpretation is positive, and that is serves to others' path. You intensify that more. You, awareness, you decidedly look for more of that catalyst. You start interpreting more catalysts on the positive side. So let me give you the example of the neophyte who starts this path. It starts to see positive and negative. Okay, I can now make my first informed choice. I choose the positive path. And so I see a cloud of confusion still, but I see a ray of light, which is, I want more of this little one. This feels amazing. I like it. And so you can say that the person has felt the call for awakening, and it moves more and more on the positive path. The more it looks for those rays of light, and the more it would see, and more intensifies, and it clarifies, and it moves away the clouds, and so on. You see, that is the way in which it works. The more it looks, the more it finds, the more it finds, the more it wants. And it moves on and on and on. The same can be said for the negative path, because that is intensifying the separate self, whereas here we're intensifying the recognition of being as one with everything. Again, I hope that makes sense. I won't elaborate more on this. I just wanted to give that example. Let's continue. Question 13, Don says, then the mechanism designed by the logos of the action of catalyst resulting in experience was planned to be self-accelerating, in that it would create this process of, shall I say, variable permeability that was of the function of the chosen path. Is this an adequate statement? Ra says, there is no variable permeability involved in the concepts we have just discussed. Except for this, you are quite correct. So no variable permeability. I guess that's the one that I had my discrepancy with, because I believe that the permeability is set. The variability has to do with awareness. So for example, somebody who is very unconscious, caught up in its own patterns, cyclical patterns, repetitive thinking and repeating cycles and so on. So that person has very little awareness of the unconscious mind, and it's just being this is why I don't like the interpretation that some metaphysicians do with people when they say, oh, they're just asleep. They're I've heard things that are kind of derogative in terms of the people who are asleep. They're just unconscious patterns that are there. There's no people there. They're just unconscious patterns. And all we can do is create that space for them. So I don't like it. I feel like it's demonized sometimes, the people who are asleep and the people who are unconscious, and look at them creating the world that we live in. They're not creating the world you're living in. You are. Take responsibility. So again, we look at these people, and if we can call them people, I just said they're not, there's no people there. There's just an activity going on. They don't see through the veil. They are not interested. That's fine. And yet, when they feel the call, they start to see more and more. This is where sudden awakenings can happen, and all kind of Kundalini rising experiences and so on. But yeah, for the vast majority, there's no need, and that's fine. For those who do, then that is what Don is saying, that it's a self-accelerating process, I guess, that is placed into the archetypical structure of the mind. So yeah, interesting to say the least. But yeah, the thing is that there is no variable permeability. As I said, I don't believe that there's more permeability to positive. No, awareness is a lot more aware of the positive connotations of such actions, and of the negative ones too. By contrast, of course, you don't become naive on the positive path to the negative. You become ever more aware of the darkness of the negative path, whereas the unconscious being has no idea of either, or has very little idea, has very little to work with, very little awareness. Let's move on. Question 14, Don says, I can understand, to use a poor term again, the necessity for an archetype of catalyst or a model for catalyst of the mind. But what is the reason for having a blueprint or model for experience of the mind other than this simple model of the dual repository for the negative and positive catalyst? It would seem to me that the first distortion of free will would be better served if no model for experience were made. I am somewhat confused on this. Could you clear it up? Yes, I can see the confusion. Ross says, your question is certainly interesting and your confusion hopefully productive. We cannot teach for the student. We shall simply note, as we have previously, the attraction of various archetypes to male and to female. We suggest that this line of consideration may prove productive. So here is my limited and admittedly neophyte interpretation of this, or what I can see. Don is saying, all right, free will can definitely take care of this model of experience, right? It just free will chooses, or it seems to choose, positive or negative. So what's the point of having an archetype that is experience? To me, experience is the conscious mind informed already by catalyst. You see? So it's now in the seat, in the driver's seat. And so the self is in that position. Experience is producing that for it. And it chooses. That's where the choice is made, in experience. In Tarot vocabulary, the significator is choosing, right? Is actually making, in conjunction with the choice, card 22, the Fool is making the choice but the significator is the one that receives it, right? The one that experiences it. And so it's a whole mixture of archetypes here, but that's what's happening. It's one, I forgot the word that Ra used, but it's a gestalt is the word of archetypes working in sync. So again, the experience that Don sees here, or that I think he fails to see, is that experience is not just simply, a model for dual repository. Experience is the way in which we have processed reality, and then, it's probably one of the most important ones. Like all matrix, potentiator, and catalyst are modeling an experience. So experience needs to shine as repetitive, if you're just simply cycling your thoughts, positive if you are polarizing on the service to other path, or negative if you're polarizing on the service to self path. So experience is what's shining as reality. So it is important. Ra doesn't comment though, and they say, we leave that to you. You consider it. We won't say anything. So again, I'm not interpreting anything here other than my own view. I would leave this to you because Ra didn't say anything. They did mention the archetypes in male and female. Well, this card is male, and again, to me, it represents the conscious mind, and that conscious mind is now informed. You see, so well, we choose. That's what the male is reaching, although it's not actually reaching here. We'll talk about this in the next couple of questions. Question 15, Don says, in the fourth archetype, the card shows a male whose body faces forward. I assume this indicates that the experience of the mind will reach for catalyst. However, the face is to the left, indicating to me that in reaching for catalyst, negative catalyst will be more apparent in its power and effect than the positive. And its power and effect than the positive. Right, it's more apparent in power and effect than the positive. Would Ra comment on this? Ra says, the archetype of experience of the mind reaches not, O student, but with firm authority grasps what it is given. The remainder of your remarks are perceptive. So remember how the conscious mind or the matrix reaches out to the unconscious. The conscious kind of looks up and says, catalyst, you want catalyst? Here we go. Surfaces up, and then the conscious mind now has the capacity to grasp that which reached out to in the unconscious mind, which processes catalyst. See? Again, I hope some people forgive me for being so limited in my interpretations. At the very least, you may smile or laugh at this, but you know, in our own minds, the male matrix is reaching to the female unconscious, and then the female is there, you know, with her purse, which is ever so full of things that we cannot understand. All kinds of things are found in the purse of a woman, right? So she looks, she sifts through, and she says, oh, you wanted this. And now the same male figure, which is the one now sitting on the box instead of pointing at the box, matrix and experience of mine, says, oh, well, yes, I guess this is what I asked for. How do I interpret it now? Interpretation of that catalyst is now what's at hand. So again, that's my childish interpretation of the cycle of what Joseph Cortez calls the minor cycle of the mind, or of the archetypical structure of mind, body, and spirit, which is the first four cards. And so, yeah, that's my childish interpretation of how this works. Male and female. So, yeah, it's at least it's fun, you know, to imagine this. I would say, now let me not go further with this analogy. I'll leave it at that. So, the archetype of experience of the mind reaches not, but with firm authority grasps what it is given. Right. At this point, awareness has made its decision, whether that be stagnation, repetition, which is, you know, single of indifference. For the conscious seeker, then its polarity of choice will determine what it's going to grasp and how. And yeah, they do say that the remainder of his remarks are perceptive. What were those? Oh yeah, well, facing to the left, that there is more reaching of the negative catalyst that will be more apparent. Why is the negative catalyst more apparent? Because negative catalyst means separation. We are in third density. The archetypical mind talks about the experience of third density. So what does it mean? We're going to see apparent separation. So yeah, we're facing the side of separation. We have our back to unity. I'm talking about the perception of mind. It's clear. That's it. So we're facing basically the darkness. That's what we're facing. Darkness being a synonym for, or a metaphor for, separation, because that's what we perceive. We perceive separation all over the place. Polarity, division, duality, apparent duality. And the rest is also perceptive. Yeah, well, that's it. That's all he said. Let us continue. Question 16, Don says, experience is seated on the square of the material illusion, which is colored much darker than in card number 3. However, there is a cat inside this. I am guessing that as experience is gained, the second density nature of the illusion is understood and the negative and positive aspects are separated. Would Ra comment on this? Yeah, this sounds very strange. Ra says, this interpretation varies markedly from Ra's intention. We direct the attention to the cultural meaning of the great cat which guards. What, O student, does it guard? And with what oriflame does it lighten that darkness of manifestation? The polarities are indeed present, the separation non-existent except through the sifting, which is the result of cumulative experience. Other impressions were intended by this configuration of the seated image with its milk-white leg and its pointed foot. Woo, that's a lot. We can spend easily half hour here. And I'm just going to break down what I see, and I won't go into all the details. That's not the purpose of this video, episode, what have you. So, Don is saying something that doesn't quite rings anything to me. There is a box that's usually representing the illusion, right? Okay, and there's a cat inside the box or the cage. And then the cat is a second density nature of the illusion, understood negative and positive as. This is too messy. I won't even play with this. So what's happening here? Let's bring it to pragmatic terms, and then we'll analyze what Ra says. Experience of third density, as I said, is facing separation, is facing illusion, is facing falsehood. There is no separation. For example, this is very helpful if you're into non-duality. If you recognize that you are awareness, okay, you are awareness. All you know is the awareness of experience. No, go no further than that. All you know is the awareness of experience. Okay? And yet experience is seducing you, enticing you into believing that there is space and that time is flowing. Right? And so you say, yes, I am a being, an object, or a subject, experiencing things in the world. See, that's a belief. That's not what you're experiencing. What you're experiencing is pure awareness. Yes, awareness does color itself in space and time, objects, subjects, the world in general. However, you have no proof of that. All the proof that you have is awareness itself. So, keep in mind awareness here, because awareness is the only thing that is true in your life. Thoughts, objects, people, things in the world, situations, past, history, all of that is a belief, is something that you have grown up and accumulated within yourself. Okay, so think about separation as belief, consciousness or awareness as knowledge. You know that. You believe the other. You know awareness, you believe the rest. Okay, that's it. Just keep that in mind. What is the meaning of the cat here? First of all, the entity in the card is facing darkness, is facing, when I say darkness, illusion, and separation, I mean the same thing. I mean division, duality. It's facing duality, right? And so as it faces reality interpreted as dual, as divided, then it is easy, obviously, to interpret things are being separated and say, yes, that's what I see. Things are as I perceive them. But that is not true. Now, you see, what does the cat, what is the cultural meaning of the cat? A cat, this I take again, I praise Joseph Cortez from bringing this up in his interpretations. A cat can see in the dark. Isn't that so? A cat has clear vision in the dark. In other words, darkness does not affect the vision of the cat. I mean, culturally, right? It does affect, I'm sure, some scientist would raise his hand and say, well, it does in the periphery, so on. I don't know. Culturally, that's what it means. It can face the dark and still see clear. Okay. What is it guarding? Well, it guards truth. It guards sight, pure vision, awareness. What is that oriflamme? Oriflamme was the banner or standard in France by Charlemagne. Again, I'm not a historian, but that I know from my poor sources of information in the past. The oriflamme was that banner. If you ever watched the show Vikings, they did a good depiction of that in the invasion of France. Probably the height of the whole show was on that season when they invaded France, and you can see the oriflamme there. So yeah, it was supposed to bring this divinity inspiration into battle, and yes, inspire the soldiers and so on. I said it was a representation of godliness and the righteousness of our intention and so on. So again, France, Charlemagne, the whole thing. So what oriflamme? This could be interpreted as what is that banner of truth that you have within you? Well, that would be awareness, right? With what oriflamme does it lighten that darkness of manifestation? It's just beautiful, you see. Manifestation is this illusion, this darkness, this perception of duality. And yet awareness is that which is present within the illusion and allowing us to see clearly. Ross says the polarities are indeed present. Yes, there are polarities. There is truth, and then there is falsehood, deceit, illusion. That's the polarity. Truth and not truth. The separation non-existent except through the sifting, which is the result of cumulative experience. So the belief that I said in my explanation, my non-dual explanation of what it is, the belief that you have is just cumulative experience that creates the idea of separation. You get that? Let me reread it. The polarities are indeed present. The separation non-existent, right? There is no separation except through the sifting, right? Discerning. And sifting is like discerned, when you sift flour on a sift, of course, which is the result of cumulative experience. So belief, cumulative experience is belief. Other impressions were intended by this configuration of the seated image, or the person seated there, with its milk white leg and its pointed foot. Okay, I hope this is making sense, because it's It's beautiful if we can see it from the simplicity of non-dual awareness, which is the nature of ourselves. It's so simple. That's why I as much as I like talking about this, I don't like teaching, because it's too complex for me. I can barely consider myself a low student of the tarot or the archetypical mind, so I prefer not to do this as, the method for people to awaken to their true nature. I don't think it's necessary. So again, I'm not I'm not saying the tarot shouldn't be studied. Okay, people will find it and it's amazing and great, but I personally don't find it useful in my own way of seeing things. Everything can be taken forwards and backwards here, so I won't say more. Let's move on. Question 17, Don says, what was the last word that Ra communicated? I didn't quite hear it. This is because in the re-listen version, they said foot, and they say again here, we spoke the sound vibration complex foot. Due to some pain flares, we are at times less than secure in the speaking. However, the way is open and conditions remain good for this working. Please continue to query if there is any difficulty in transmission. Okay, so before that, if you read, remember there are different versions of this. This question was not included in the original material. I think it was included in book 5, which was released over a decade after the original material. This was obviously corrected or edited when it was re-listened again in the early 2000s by Toby Willock. That project has the word futch, which I don't even know what it means. F-O-O-T, just like foot, but C-H at the end. And that's why Don was saying, like, what did you say? And then Ross said, we meant to say foot. I don't know. I'll leave that to you. But we can continue with the next question. This is question 18. Don says, in card 3, the feet of the female entity are upon the unstable platform, signifying dual polarity by its color. In card 4, one foot indeed, no, rewind. In card 4, 1 foot pointed indicates that if the male entity stands on the toe, it would be carefully balanced. The other foot is pointed to the left. Woodrock comments on my observation that if the entity stands on this foot, it will be very, very carefully balanced. So what's going on with the legs and the foot, or the futch, as Ross said? I don't even know if that's a word. All right, so Ra responds and says, this is an important perception, for it is a key to not only this concept complex, but to others as well. You may see the T-square, which at times riven as is 1 foot from secure fundament by the nature of experience. Yet still, by this same nature of experience, is carefully, precisely, and architecturally placed in the foundation of this concept complex, and indeed in the archetypical mind complex. They finish saying, experience has the nature of more effectively and poignantly expressing the architecture of experience, both the fragility of structure and the surety of structure. So I actually hit a roadblock here, as I don't have much to say. They're speaking of the aspect of balance in experience, as I understand it. Yes, so balance in the experience. And so they're Don is saying that 1 foot is pointed forwards, right? And if it's stands on this one toe, on the toe, it would be carefully balanced. Yes. So there is a careful balance there. And the other one is pointed to the left, which I don't even know what that means. But it's pointing to the left, and that's the illusion, right? The manifestation of separation, apparent separation. And then the other one, right? It's the right one that is looking to the left, and the left one that is firm on the ground. I don't know. I dare not to interpret this. But they say you may see the T-square, which is the position of the legs making a T, which at times riven as is 1 foot from secure fundament by the nature of experience. Yeah, this part is very riddled for me. If you have any comments on this, please leave them in the comment section, because I would like to know. I have very little to add to this. It's carefully, precisely, and architecturally right. The nature of experience is carefully, precisely, and architecturally placed in the foundation of this concept complex, and indeed in the archetypical mind complex. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank here. I gotta be honest. This last part where they say experience has the nature of more effectively. Experience here, they refer to the archetypical or the archetype of experience. So the archetype of experience has the nature of more effectively and poignantly expressing the architecture of experience, both the fragility of structure and the surety of structure. Yeah, I don't have much to add here. Really, I'm being fully honest. The fragility of structure and the surety of structure, that's the architecture of experience. The only thing that comes to mind for me is that there is a saying that I liked a long time ago that said, have strong opinions, right? There is the surety of structure. And the fragility is to hold them loosely. Have strong opinions, but hold them loosely. So be always, I guess, mindful that your experience is fragile, and yet it is your experience. So hold it dear to yourself, but don't hold on to it. Don't attach to it, rather. So that's the only thing that comes to me. That's probably the nature of experience. That's the only thing I'm interpreting here. And that's what the legs represents, fragility and surety of the structure. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let's continue. A couple more questions. Don says in question 19, it would seem to me that from the configuration of this male entity in card 4, who looks to the left and the right foot is pointed to the left, that this card would indicate that you must be in a defensive position with respect to the left-hand path, with no need to concern yourself about protection with respect to the right-hand path. Would Ra comment on that? Defensive? I think not. Ra says, again, this is not the suggestion we wish to offer by constructing this image. However, the perception cannot be said to be incorrect. I don't want to say that it's incorrect, but I do want to say that I don't like the word defensive. Perhaps perceptive or vigilant more than defensive. That is, you see, in martial arts, you are taught that. Not that I was a martial arts enthusiast even, but you learn this. It's not about being, let's say, afraid, defensively afraid. Okay, that's not, if you're thinking too much about what's going to happen at what moment and from where. You don't want that. You want a peaceful mind. So it's vigilance. You're attentive. You're fully present. So I would say that instead of defensive, if I can just manipulate the term a little bit. And in that case, I would agree with Don and Ra saying that it's not incorrect, but I don't feel like it's a constructive thing to be defensive onto the negative things. Just vigilant, perceptive, yes, aware of what is true and what is not. That's it. You don't have to be afraid. You're just looking at what is true and what is not. And what seems like it's not true, just become aware of it. That's it. Awareness is truth. Awareness is the light. Let it shine on it. Don't make conclusions. Allow awareness to say suddenly, oh, look at that. Never seen that. And it'll change. So again, yeah, I don't have any further comments on this, but to say that, and also no need to concern yourself about protection with respect to the right-hand path. Yeah, could be. Again, vigilance. Yeah, there's no need to concern about the negative or the positive. You're just vigilant with awareness. Don't let the mind get involved. The mind will be defensive by nature. You see, is this true? You know, is this feeling, is this inspiration that I have, is it truly, you know, this is the kind of questions that sometimes arise in the skeptic, neurotic mind, where it says, you know, how come this is true? How about if it's not true? You know, that we're all one, and that, you know, there is a God, and that God is actually punishing us. You know, how do we know that that's not true? That's the defensive one that is looking at things that, how does it make you feel? Let's just stop all the thinking for a moment, and how does it make you feel to think about a psychopathic God? How does that make you feel? Well, awful, of course. Well, what does it make you feel that God is, you know, loving and caring? Oh, well, yes, of course. New Testament versus Old Testament God. Very clear. And so then take that into the depths of, you know, who you are and how you feel about it. How you feel about who you are. Not the thinking, but just simply being. Oh, yeah, it feels awesome. It feels great all the time. Doesn't change. Oh, well, there you go. There's a sight there. You're looking with truth. I'm going to cover perhaps 2 more questions. We have time for this. Let's do it. Question 20. Don says, the magical shape is on the right edge of the card, indicating to me that the spiritual significance is on the right edge of the card, indicating to me that the spiritual experience would be the right-hand path. Could Ra comment on that? I feel like I repeated myself there. Well, let's see what Ra says. Yes, meaning that yes, they can comment. The figure is expressing the nature of experience by having its attention caught by what may be termed the left-hand catalyst. Meanwhile, the power, the magic, is available upon the right-hand path. The nature of experience is such that the attention shall be constantly given varieties of experience. Those that are presumed to be negative or interpreted as negative may seem in abundance. It is a great challenge to take catalyst and devise the magical, positive experience. That which is magical in the negative experience is much longer coming, shall we say, in the third density. I'm not sure what they meant by longer coming. It seems like it takes more time. But in contrast with the positive one, it seems like it's not. Like it's more here, because it takes more time, or a greater challenge rather, not time. It takes a greater challenge to devise catalysts out of to devise magic out of the catalyst for positive experience? I don't know. But let's begin with the magical side of the experience, which is really what Don is asking here. They're saying that the figure is sitting. I haven't put the card here at all, but you can see it here if you're on YouTube now. You can look at the figure, which is kind of sitting like this with the thing, the orb, the magical orb on the right hand. Is it? Make sure myself. It is on his right hand side, on the right hand, and then looking at the left. So this is what we see as what we saw as the third density entity facing reality as darkness, as illusion. And as it looks, it has the magical ability on the right hand, which is what indicates, apparently, spiritual experience. I don't know, spiritual experience can be on both sides, but I guess what Don was asking is that the positive spiritual experience would be on the right hand path. I don't know. I'm not sure what he meant there. But there's this spiritual significance. You see, I don't know why Ra didn't comment on this, but this figure, as you see, has the is that what it's called? Emblazoned on his chest. It has the spirit. That's the bird, right? So it's at the chest, right in the center, at the heart. So maybe that's more indicative of spiritual significance. I don't know. In any case, what do we get out of this is the important part. The figure is expressing the nature of experience. That's the human in the card. The nature of experience having its attention caught by what may be termed the left-hand catalyst. The way I see this, I mean, there is no negative catalyst, but the left-hand catalyst is the path of separation, right? So all you perceive in third density is separation. It's difficult, indeed, to see unity in this world. We're filled with negativity in the sense of separation, division, and identity, and so on. So we are flooded with this. That's why we're looking at the left-hand side on the experience. Meanwhile, the power, the magic, is available on unity. That's where we see the power of magic. Magic being the capacity to make changes in consciousness at will, using the unconscious mind. I think that's a fair description of magic. Why? Because our life transforms and changes and just feels a lot more alive. And then Ra says that the nature of experience is such that the attention shall be constantly given varieties of experience. So the nature of experience in lowercase, not capital, it's not capitalized. The nature of this, of what experience is in reality, in third density, is such that the attention will be constantly given. We're going to be fed a variety of different experiences. And so, well, those that we think that are negative or interpreted as negative will seem to be in abundance because our perceptions are deceiving us. Simple as that. Our perceptions are wrong. Our perceptions see space and time. Now, is that a problem? Is that as some metaphysicians again like to interpret, is that the prison? Are we in a prison? Are there entities, like evil entities, pulling the strings, and we are here just screaming and yelling at the suffering? Is that how it is? Maybe, if you want to believe that way. But then again, that's just a belief based on perceptions. Even your thoughts are perceptions. So no matter how much you have channel information or listen to channel information of the war between the good and evil and all of this, that's all the Garden of Eden type of interpretation. And I won't apologize for this because I actually enjoy breaking down mythology. This is all poetic interpretations of what's happening. And so you will see a slew of negativity, negative experience, right? Presume to be negative in abundance. We're going to see a lot of that. Great. But what is the discernment? Well, it is a great challenge to take catalysts, which is always apparently negative to us, and devise the magical positive experience. It's a great challenge, for you to face reality and with certainty of yourself say, I won't see any negative here. Not because I'm kind of suggesting myself, I'm doing some subliminal stuff, I'm doing affirmations. No, because you can see directly through it. You won't see any falsehood there. So it is a great challenge indeed. That which is magical in the negative experience, then I don't know if they say it takes more time or is a lot more possible here in third density, which is just exacerbating more the negative. I'm going to say that it takes more time, because I remember in the translation in Spanish that it was translated as it takes more time. But again, translation could be wrong, and I didn't make that one in particular. But I'm pretty sure that mine has that too. I haven't read it. In any case, that's the view. You see, you're looking at experience which seems to be separation. Because of that, we're going to see more catalysts in the form of separation, and then it is our challenge to process that separation into unity, into collapsing that duality, as I say in my direct path course and my mentoring as well. That's what we do at the end. We collapse this duality so we can use this collapse of duality as a tool. What is the collapse of duality? Knowing that you awareness is all that exists and everything else is just a modulation of you. But you first need to know yourself and stop identifying with this moving thing, which you call a body-mind. You are not that. Sorry to disappoint you, separate self, but you do not exist. Okay, so let's see, let's cover the last question for today. Yes, and we'll be done. Question 21, Don says, now, both the third and fourth archetypes, as I see it, work together for the sole purpose of creating the polarity in the most efficient manner possible. Is this correct? Again, third and fourth archetypes, catalyst and experience. Ra says, this cannot be said to be incorrect. We suggest contemplation of this thought complex. So, I thought this was a nice way to end this episode, as we will continue in part 3 with the rest of the questions. We still have like 9 more questions. And Don's way to give us this beautiful golden opportunity to end the episode here is to say, I see that catalyst and experience are working together to fashion, right? Polarity in a more efficient way. In essence, that's what he said. They work together beautifully to create that polarity. And so Ra says, they didn't say it was correct. I like this. That's a non-dual answer. We won't say that it is incorrect, but we will suggest contemplation on this thought complex. That's the pairing, that's the study of the archetypical mind in pairs. Matrix and potentiator, then catalyst and experience. Boom, you have it there. Contemplate on that. This is a nice segue for conclusions. So we covered a lot, and it will be simplified from me in the following way. You are aware of being. You are being. So as you are aware of being aware of simply being, you will face what we call a world of separation, an illusion of separation. Perceptions are the tools for that. That's what allows you to see separation. However, perceptions are not right. Perceptions are filters through which we fashion experience. Our tool to see the truth is the only thing that we know for true, which is ourselves. And who we are determines what we see. You see? Do you? So, if you look at yourself from the conditioned, separate self, all you will see is that. And it's fine that at the beginning, that's all you know. But begin to invite, like they would say in religious terms, or Christian terms, invite God into your heart. God here represents awareness of being. Well, invite awareness of being into your life. It will gradually, Christians would say, invite Jesus into your home. He will start cleaning with you your home. Beautiful way to say it too. Well, we allow this awareness of being to inform our reality, because up to this point we reached the maximum level of belief in separation. That's why we are here. That's why you've listened to more than an hour of some random guy on the internet talking about some obscure material that's called the Law of One. So yes, just stay in that recognition. No more is needed. You can see the whole structure of the archetypical mind from this point. Awareness of being. Cut through the illusion, cut through separation, which is really what's affecting you emotionally. And it's, in a way, recycling all patterns and thoughts in your life that are undesirable. Why are they undesirable? Because you have seen the light, so to speak. You have seen the truth, and you want more of it because you have recognized finally something that is fully true. That is you. So, as I said, we will continue with session 94 on part 3. We have more questions. This is where I invite you to support my work. Right now you can go to Patreon and go check out what I have on Patreon. It's not much, but hey, it's a way to say thank you, and I appreciate it. And also Instagram, go check my content there. If you resonate with my teaching, ask me more about it, and we can definitely chat and see what can we do together, if there's anything at all that we can do together, or just stop by and say hello. So that's it for me for today. We have, like I said, 8 or 9 more questions. I hope you're well wherever you are. Have a good day, good night, and I'll see you in the next video.